Hello friends, thank you for stopping by. I have a little tea themed journal to show you today. So the lady that ordered this, it's a custom order, she wanted a smaller kind of lightweight version of my usual larger books. So this is what we've come up with in a tea theme. So as you can see, quite a simple cover. I've used this vintage children's book cover of the two tea parties, and I've made it quite a snug, tidy little book, and it's quite small, just a little bit smaller than my hand there. So I will get straight into showing you the inside. So the cover has some protection over it, and she wanted muted colours. I've used quite a lot of vintage paintings and images for the decorations, and some quotes. There's a little tea bag label, and a few of these tea bag art pages. So this one is a real specimen, and I put the tea bag over the top, but what I found was that the petals, the white petals, kind of disappeared a little bit. So I've just gone over these with some white gel pen to make them stand out better, and added some stitches. It came out quite well. Actually, I think I'm just going to pause it and adjust the camera angle, sorry. Okay, I think that might be better. Okay. The reason that I've gone for small pages is that I'm pretty sure it's never going to get written in this book. So what I was thinking was, rather than just putting a small decoration in the corner and then having a huge expanse of blank page where you would normally use for writing, just make the pages smaller, and then it kind of looks more full, a bit like having a smaller plate for your portion sizes. My doctor keeps telling me. So smoke and mirrors. This is a vintage menu I've made into a pocket with some stitches. Yes, because the reason that... I'll just show you this first. So this is a little tea definition from a vintage dictionary, and I've used quite a lot of images from the Graphics Fairy. This is one of her little tea bag labels, very cute. The reason the lady requested this book, Violets, for Violet Tea, is because she has a guest house, and it's a tea related. They do little tea events. I'm not really sure of the details for her guests, and so she wanted this book as a kind of a display, just for the guests to peruse and look through and pass the time. So it's just going to be on a little table in a public area, so you know, nobody's going to write in it really. And so that was the purpose of it. This don't view this as a tea Bible, because there are a few plants in here that I'm not sure what they are for a start, and I know that not everything is going to be edible that you find in here, so I've just used some pretty handmade papers here and there. Now I feel as though I was telling you something and I forgot about it now. There's a little envelope for a tea packet. What was I going to tell you? I'm sure it was just more rambling. So I've done a little embroidery here a teacup with some random flowers, and I decided to do that on white linen because of the kind of tea service thing. And I've used some decoupage with some tea advertising, kind of vintage style. This is a little tea card stitched round onto some cotton fabric. Actually, this is a cigarette card, sorry. I've used this because it's dandelion, for the dandelion tea. And if you're not familiar with these, I use them quite a lot in my books. In the 70s, probably, maybe a bit earlier, you used to get these, just a random card when you bought a packet of tea or a packet of cigarettes. And so it would just make you buy their brand again, I suppose, because you know, if you want to get the complete set. And then what you can do is send away and pay for an album or a picture book to stick them in. So this is a cigarette card, and then later on you've got some tea cards. So they became a kind of a collectible thing. And you can still get them on eBay if you're interested. They're quite inexpensive. You can get complete sets or just random ones. And there's all different things: butterflies, birds, cars, trains, etc. So this is Flower Fairy of the lime tree. And I wanted to use this one because this was a comfort drink that my mother used to give me when I was not well. In Turkey it's a very popular one. Lime flower, or linden tree, do they call it as well? Is there another name for it? So that's the Turkish tea bag in there if you want to try it. So that has nice memories for me. It's a kind of sleep-inducing one. It's nice, comforting. And then that's the lime tree poem that goes with it. I've done some more tea bags here with some watercolour painting. Hope you can see that, it's a bit faint. And then on this side, some journaling cards in a little teacup tower. So they just go in like 3 sections like so. And if you want to do this, remember to cut here on the front lip of the teacup to make the space. And then you can cut it more to the side if you want them to lean over. And also what I would recommend, when you have your 3 cards, stack them first and then glue around the back of the bottom one, because don't forget you want a little pocket here where you don't want to glue for this one to sit in. So I've used this one because I thought it was interesting how both artists have done it the same way with the bees. Thought it was really pretty, and I don't know if there's some significance, whether it's a very popular one with the bees. This is the Edwardian Lady, Edith Holden book. But I thought that was quite nice. And nice colours too, she likes sage green. I'll just hold that there a sec in case you want to pause and read it. So what I did want to add to this book was a little, like an instructional thing for the proper way to make tea, you know, the correct way to make tea. But, you know, when I started, so many different varying opinions, my goodness. And everyone is adamant that their way is the correct way to make tea. So I don't know what I was hoping to find, really. My husband and I have been arguing about the correct way to make tea for about 30 years now. So I don't think that there is any definitive answer. So I left that out in the end. I'll leave it to you to decide for yourselves. So these are tea cards, little butterfly ones, and then you see you've got the information on the back. Brook Bond tea, and a little label again. Some little violets in a teacup. I've just fussy cut these to make a tuck spot. Violet tea is a thing, I believe. Sowing the seeds of the tea plant. This lovely, I don't know if it's a wood carving or a line drawing. It's a very pretty Chinese image. This is another children's book with a tea plant and some information. More tea bag art, and I've painted some chamomile flowers on here. And this is a page from a herbal book. Yarrow, of course, you can make tea from. So some of them are medicinal, and some are just for pleasure, of course. This is Mrs. Rabbit from the Peter Rabbit story, who is a seller of chamomile tea and rabbit tobacco, which is actually lavender, which you can make tea from also. So I thought that was quite sweet. This is a pocket with a little tea party invitation. That's from the Graphics Fairy too. A page about the nettle plant, and another label. I've put some beads on that one, on the string. A strawberry print for fruity tea lovers. And on this one I've done some machine stitching, embroidery, and a quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson. And this side some more painting, some grasses and such. Tuck spot, more journaling cards. I've forgotten the name of these ones, they're very pretty. The name of the artist, I will link it below. Some fabric trim. So that's another handmade paper. I don't know what these are, please don't eat them. Some vintage advertising. This is a nice chamomile plant, and some more embroidery. And a pocket made of this lovely image. I think this was a postcard. Picking tea leaves, it says. And this one I've used some fruit tea bags. So this dark pink is from the fruit, and just painted some more grasses and flowers. Raspberry leaf. And this I've done a painting of an echinacea flower for a medicinal tea. For the library card I chose Alice in Wonderland, and I'm not sure about cultivated violets. This is a cultivated one. I don't know if you can brew them the same way or whether they are edible, I don't know. In fact, yes, they are edible. I've used these in cakes and things, but I'm not sure if they're good for tea. So this is, I've crinkled some wax paper dried the flower first and then stitched round on the machine. And then this is printed with black ink, some jasmine straight from my garden with leaves and buds on there. And jasmine tea, of course, you can make. This is a section of a vintage tea cloth. I really like the way the colours go on that one. And some green trim here. This is another fruit tea, of course, and I've just rubber stamped over this one and added some white paint again. There's a little poem passage down here, tea in the garden, and there's some little teacups and things on the plant here. Sarah Midder, who I'm a big fan of. And here's another Pause and Read section. Jerome K. Jerome has quite a cool quote about tea. Some vintage advertising. This is another little envelope for a tea bag. I thought this was a really cool photograph. What a beautiful building. Shanghai City Tea House. This is a fabric tip-in with a little patisserie image on there. Had to put a crochet doily, of course. More tea plant. This one you may have seen on my Instagram, this embroidery. So I've put on this side a little cutting from a vintage book, 5 sleep-inducing teas, and it has some chamomile here, of course, to match the embroidery, and I've just edged it with, take that out, edged it with coordinating scrapbook paper to match the hand-dyed cloth here. This is your note from the bookmaker letter. And just show you a close-up of this one. Came out quite nice. And that's stitched onto paper at the back here for a pocket. And then that's the last page. So this is Wild Violets, which you can brew for tea, and Narcissus on the back, which you definitely cannot, so please don't. So that just happens to be on the back. And I made a little envelope here. And used another of these plant specimens. And I've just pulled out some of the stitching here and frayed to make it look nice and old. And that's the last page. So I'll just show you the charms. I've done 3 little tea bag labels, you know, the string labels for some tabs here, and then use these beads. So this is a 2-part bead. You get the 2 silver parts, and then you can add you know, whatever colour bead you want, so that's quite nice. Nice idea. And then I've used 2 of these enamelled beads, kind of reminiscent of pretty china. There's a coffee pot for when you fancy a change, for when tea is not your cup of tea. It's a bead, and this is my favourite one. This is a tiny little tea bag, and on the string here it actually says tea, and there's a little bead on there. Isn't that super cute? So that's that. So I hope you enjoyed having a look through this with me, and that's it for today. I'll see you next time, folks. Bye.